Juanita, could you also be Juanita, could you also be Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 5 Spydercast. We're going to talk today about the new features in Spyder 4.2. And we also have 2 very special guests for today. So but we are going to introduce them a little bit later. So first, let me tell you that, well, we released 2 new versions a couple of weeks ago. One is Spyder Spyder 4.16, which was released to fix all our dependencies for Python 2. So that's not a version that went into Conda or Conda Forge, because those platforms don't support Python 2 anymore. But if you want to install Spyder for Python 2, or you need it, you can do it from PyPI. So you can just run pip install Spyder 4.16, and you will get a new, the last version that correctly supports Python 2. And for Spyder 4.2, well, it was a really big release with almost 800 commits. A lot of people participated, and it included, well, we released it, even if we release it after 2 months after 4.15, it includes many pull requests from the last 6 months. And not only includes new features, which is what we're going to present today, but also a lot of improvements, a lot of bug fixes and performance improvements, because we know that Spyder 4 had or has a lot of things that were not working well, especially in the editor. We tried to fix them. So some other things are already in the pipeline for 4.1 and 4.2. So please be tuned for that. But we tried very hard to make this version much more performant and robust than it was previously. And now let me talk about our new invites. So Juanita, if you could join us and present Isabella, please.
Okay, yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Juanita. And I would like to present one of our special invites today. So she's Isabella. And she has been working with us for a while, and she's a UX UI expert, and she's been very important in some design decisions that we've been taking for our new features. And for Spyder 4.2, she has helped a lot. So please, Isabella, introduce yourself and tell us what you've been doing.
Hello. So yes, I'm Isabella, and I am a UX UI designer, which I know can sometimes be a rarity in open source projects like this, but I'm always looking for people who exist with that. So please feel free to reach out. We do worry about design here. I'm working on a lot of different things with Spyder because there's a lot of different thoughts that we're working through. Some of our main focuses, though, are definitely on the UI side, but particularly how like the UI is going to reflect and help people learn how to use features better, discover features, maybe make it a little bit more friendly or cohesive has been a big thing since a lot of parts are made separately. So that's been a lot of our focus so far. And some of those ways are very visual and some of them are actually very easy to miss. It's like, okay, we're going to move this here or not make sure that this is hidden. So yeah, it's a lot of discussion, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this team and grateful that they're willing to have those discussions. You know, I think it's really valuable, though I'm obviously biased. So thank you for having me here today.
Thanks, Isabella.
Okay, so now let me introduce to Ryan Mcclary, who is a volunteer contributor that helped us to create a brand new macOS installer. So please, Ryan, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Ryan. I live in California. I'm a physicist, and I've been using Spyder for almost 10 years now, doing Python code. And for a few years, I've actually been very interested in getting a native Mac application built for Spyder. And it wasn't until the recent lockdown, the pandemic quarantine, that I actually found myself with a little extra time at home and thought, hey, this is be a good opportunity to dive in and learn how to do that. So, but I'm happy to help contribute, and I admit it's for selfish purposes, for things that I do at work. I think, how can I make this better suit my needs or the needs of people that I work with? So.
That's very cool, Ryan. Could you tell us a little bit about your professional background and what are you using Spyder for?
Yeah, so I mentioned I'm a physicist. I work for a company here in California. We are researching fusion technology, and we do a lot of experiments and a lot of data analysis, and Python is our go-to data analysis platform. And like I said, I discovered Spyder maybe about 10 years ago, and because previously I had been a Matlab user, and this was a very good what I would call a Matlab clone for Python, giving all the features and all of the I guess the usability that Matlab had that I was looking for, but with a Python on the Python platform. And so we write a lot of code that analyzes data, and the scientific Python development environment works pretty good for it. So.
Thank you. That's really nice to hear, Ryan. And thanks a lot for your help with the macOS installer. I know that you make a very good use of my half-baked scripts from like 5 years ago. So thanks a lot for that. Okay, so now on the agenda, it's Danielle. So Danielle created the Windows installer. So Danielle, if you want to join us, please, and start sharing your screen so you can give the other people a little demo about that.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So let me share my screen. You can guys see that? Okay. So basically, for Spyder 4.2, we wanted to create like installers, in the sense that we found from Spyder 3 to Spyder 4 that there is like this need for an easy way to install Spyder. It can be kind of troublesome to some guys or some users to actually start using Spyder, because the installation process is not the robust a robust one. So we started working in for an installer on Windows, and also Ryan helped us to build one for Mac. So now we have these two installers, and hopefully for the users will be easier to install Spyder and use it. These new installers basically are built using, in the case of Windows, a package called PyInsist. So we are using not conda packages, but the pip, the ones you found in PyPy, to build that. Also, we in the middle of this discussion of how to build the installers and so on. We created 2 versions of the installers. One, a light version and a full version, we call it like that, which basically the difference is like the full version has some optional dependencies we support, like basically like the PyData stack of you can find in Python, like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and so on. So you can have like in your installation like these packages available. Basically, it's kind of like what we have been doing with this kind of little project of creating like the installers. Basically, now the installation process is just like going or downloading like the installer and opening that like the installer like any other program. And yeah, is kind of what will be prompted, like this wizard, classic wizards of a program that you can then select, well, agree to a license and select where you want to install it, and yeah, it works, and that's it. No, you don't have to worry about anything else. And at the end of that, at least on Windows, you will find like a menu, a start menu entry for the program, in this case for Spyder, and it starts, and that's it, basically, without any strange issues like you don't find Qt bindings or something else rogues or whatever. Yeah, basically that's like the work on the installers that we have been working on.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. That's pretty cool. And I know that you tried several packages to create the installer. So how hard or how easy did you find to use those other packages, and why at the end did you decide to use PyInsist? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so in the middle of this process, so to find a way to create installer, I tested quite a few alternatives, you could say, from PyInstaller to Conda constructor and so on. And usually what I found is that I get to a point in the building of the installer where I found an issue or a problem that I couldn't like be able to bypass or to fix. Either when with stuff like we wanted for the installer, for example, like the menu entry in the like this shortcut, I mean, or that basically you can't like change like the interpreter like in the way we wanted. And yeah, at the end we went with the PyInsist option, since this package let you like create an nsys installer, and you can actually customize like the script that is used, so you can interact in a better way, at least on Windows, with, for example, the registry or stuff like that, that enable you to create these little details like the shortcut in the start menu, or something we are working for Spyder 4.2.1, that is like a menu entry in the context menu of your Explorer to open a file with a Spyder, like I don't know, other editors do, like Notepad++ or Visual Studio Code, for example. So yeah, that's why we use it like this kind of process packages. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Daniel. And I would like to take the opportunity also to thank Thomas Kloiber, who is part of the scientific Python community and also created PyInsist, because it has been really useful for us to create this installer. So yeah, as Daniel told you, we already have some improvements for this installer for 4.2.1, especially a way to send files from the Windows Explorer, as Daniel told you, to Spyder. That's a feature that has been requested for years and years, and probably 8 years or something, and people have used several workarounds in the past, but now you will simply install the Spyder with this new installer, and you will get that out of the box. So thanks a lot, Danielle. And now let's go with Ryan. So, So Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about your motivation to, well, not your motivation, but how did you create this installer? You already told us about the motivation, but what was the hardest part of doing that? And also, if you can share your screen and show people how to run the installer in Mac, well, that would be great.
Okay, sure. Well, just zoom over to here. Yeah, so for the Mac installer, all you need to do is go to the Spyder's website on GitHub and download download the DMG file. They probably, you've got a link on there. I don't remember the
Don't worry,
the
Ryan.
link that would take
Juanita is going to,
Juanita is going to
show
you can just
you,
download the thing.
next to you. Exactly. That's the link.
Yeah,
exactly.
you just download it. For Mac, you don't need to. There's not really an installer per se. The application's already built, and so when it's downloaded, I actually don't have an installer already in or a DMG file already downloaded, so that'll take a little while. But anyway, you just open the DMG file and just drop Spyder into your applications folder, and you're good to go. Open it up just like any other Mac OS application. The biggest reason I wanted to do this was because I had created some Spyder launchers using the Automator. Yeah, that's what it was, using Automator. And when I upgraded to Mac OS Catalina, it broke and I couldn't get it to work again. And so I thought, you know, I really wanted to learn how to make an app anyway, so this was a great opportunity. So that's what I did. Probably the hardest part, oh, it's already done. So the hardest part was actually learning a lot about the environments and getting the Qt libraries to work. Like Daniel, I had tried a couple of different type of installers. PyInstaller was one of them as well. And the biggest problem with any of them was trying to get the Qt libraries to work, to install properly. And I learned a whole lot more about virtual environments than I had ever intended. But I ended up getting it to work, and so it was a great learning opportunity for me. It was the first time I had built an application on Mac like that, so it was great. I don't know why the icon doesn't show up there, but then you can just drag and drop it, and you're good to go. And then it uses or leverages a lot of the Mac OS native features, so you can set your files to open up with Spyder, all your Python files to open up with Spyder, so you can just double click in the Finder. So that's really nice. And then, like Dan and Carlos said as well, one of the nice things about it is an isolated Spyder environment, and you don't have to worry about creating a dedicated environment in Conda from which to run Spyder. and help reduce the opportunity or likelihood that somebody can mess up how Spyder works when they install or do different things in the environments that they need to work in. So it's really, really good.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ryan, for your work on that. And yeah, I think it will be really, really helpful. And part of the reasons, or perhaps the main reason that we would like to make this Spydercast is to show people about these new installers, and they can just get them very easily and download them and simply double click on them and click with a very simple process and then install them. In the case of Windows and in the case of Mac, it's just simply drag and drop to the applications folder and have it there. So now it's Juanita is going to join us to show us how to download the installers from our main website and also from our docs website and do a little demo about the Mac installer too. So go ahead, Juanita.
Okay, so what I wanted to show you was basically that we already have access to our installers from our main website. That might be a little bit more discoverable than the link in the repo, but both work. So feel free to use whichever. So if you go to our main website, spyderid.org, you go to download. There you're gonna have like a really brief explanation of the installer that we have, and depending on your operating system, you're gonna have the button that says download for macOS, which is in this case my operating system. But if you have Windows, you're gonna see download for Windows. And we also added these in our installation guide. So if you go to our installation guide in the documentation website, we also have here the links for our installers. And well, that should make it pretty easy to find. So basically, I already did this because it takes a little bit, so I didn't want to take too much time. But if I press this, I'm gonna have here my DMG. And once I press the DMG, I'm gonna see this cool dragging for all the Mac applications. I already did this too, but basically what this does is just includes Spyder in your applications. And as Ryan was saying, this includes Spyder in your Finder. So you can, it's not there, not sure why. Let me just do this again. Okay, so I do have it. So basically, it's gonna allow you to first open Spyder with your Finder, which I will show you if I can figure out how. And then you're gonna also be able to open your Python files, as in like open with, and Spyder is gonna appear there as an application to open. Well, not only your Python files, but all the files that you wanna open. So that's, I guess, really cool about the application for Mac, because that's something we didn't have before. And I guess that's it. It's gonna take a little bit, so I don't want to take too much time. So maybe later I can show you that. So I guess you can continue unless there's something else I missed.
No, I think that's really cool too. And Juanita, as a Mac user yourself, can you tell us what you think about the installers? What are the advantages that you think they will provide to other Mac users?
The Finder. Yeah, the Spotlight and the Finder. I think that those two things are great. And also, I feel like whenever I was going to open a file with Spyder, I had to open Spyder first and browse for the file in the files pane. But now I can just like literally open the file. Also, right now, whenever you download Spyder sort of ends up being the default application in which you can open your files. So it's really good because whenever I'm going to open a Python file, I like literally double click it and it opens with Spyder right away. So I guess that's also really great. Also, it works. So it finished. So just to show you, if I write Spyder here, it just shows there in Spotlight, which I think it's the best thing of all of these.
Could you start Spyder and show other people about the Finder functionality that you were mentioning?
The what?
The Finder functionality to open a file from Finder and send it to Spyder.
Yes. Just give me 1 second, because this is something that hopefully we can fix for the future. But yes. Okay, it's gonna take a little bit. I think it's opening now. Okay, so basically what I used to do before, when it finished loading, we had to sort of have to search the files in the file space and look for them there to open any file that we wanted. But right now, if I go to my Finder and it opens, I can, well, I don't have any Python files here, but there should be one here. Sorry. Here. So now you see that here it has a Spyder logo, which means that's going to open it with Spyder. But if this is the default application that's going to read into it. So that's really great because I just have to double click the file and opens it in Spyder instead of having to like look for it in the file space.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks Ryan for the installers. I'm really excited about them.
Thanks a lot for the installers again, Ryan. It's really, really cool to have it. But unfortunately, both the Windows and Mac installers have little limitations now. And the main one is that you're not able to, to run code that doesn't use the libraries that come with the installers. That's the main issue with those. But for that, Stephanie helped us to automatically detect the Conda and PyF environments that you have installed in your system so you can use them to run your code. So that's why Danielle was telling you that we have now the application environment, which is very stable and won't break at all. And then we also have the execution environment, which is the one that will run your code. And now Stephanie is going to show you how that works in 4.2. So Stephanie, take it away.
So hi guys, hi everyone. So basically, for Spyder 4.2, one of the functionalities that I worked in was the managing of environments. So as Carlos was saying, right now, if you download Spyder from the installers, you will have like a ton, like you won't have a ton of access to all the things that you used to have on your environment. So I'm going to show you like how we're going to work that out. So let me share my screen. Okay, so right now I already started a Spyder. Now, oh, sorry, I have this Zoom board here, so let me move that. Okay, so for like before, we always had like the little like thing on the toolbar that will say to us in which environment we are. And right now I'm in the Conda Spyder DApp environment. And for changing that, we needed to go to preferences and add like a manual path to it. So right now you can just click in here and you will be able to change your default environment in preferences. So this will take a little while because sometimes my computer freezes. Okay, and we will be here. So we can just select another Python interpreter that before we had to type in those paths, but now Spyder just have like the auto discovery for PyEnv and Conda environments. So for instance, I don't want to use more the same as Spyder's interpreter because I need more, we need more libraries to it. So I don't know, I'm going to change to another one and I'm going to hit apply. And it is important to mention that right now we were unable to, oh, sorry, I opened things, to just have the actual terminal change to the new environment. So if you want to have a new console with your new environment, you have to create one. So I hit new, and this is an error that you can see. it is because in this particular environment, I don't have Spyder kernels installed. So don't freak out if this happens to you, because it is completely normal. The only thing that you have to go and do is to go and install Spyder kernels in that environment. So I'm going to do that right now. Let me move this. So I'm just going to activate my environment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to install Spyder kernels. This may take a while or not. Let's hope it doesn't. So okay, I'm going to install it from pip option. Missing requirement. Wow. Why this is happening? Carlos, have you seen this error before?
Yeah. Sorry. The thing is that Spyder kernels 1.10 is not already present in the Anaconda default
okay.
files. You need to install them from Conda Forge for now.
Okay. I think we may need to update that instruction on the on the console. It is in our channel, right?
No, in Conda Forge.
Conda Forge.
Yep.
Okay, now we wait. Yeah, so basically, this functionality is not like it's also like useful not only if you have the installers, but it also like will help you to manage your environments better, because before it was just a mess try to like type in the whole path of the executable Python that you wanted to. Right now that functionality is still there if you don't like, if you want to use your Python of your system or other Python located in other not default value. And okay, I'm not sure why this is happening, but what I can show you is I can go back to an environment that has Spyder kernels, and the error will not rise. So basically this will help you, this will help you a lot, especially if you have a workflow with a lot of environments and you need to be changing your environment constantly. Like you don't have, now you don't need to type in the whole path, which is a huge thing. Okay, I'm going to restart my Spyder because I'm not sure what's happening here.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I think the main problem right now is that I don't know why we released 4.2 almost 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately, the default channel, which is the one that we recommend to install Spyder, or at least to install, for example, other libraries that you would like to use, like PyTorch or TensorFlow or scikit-learn, it hasn't released packages for Spyder kernels 1.10, which is the requirement for Spyder 4.2. But once that once that package is released, we sorry, we will update our instructions, and basically, if you have download the installer, you simply need to go to your environment, activate it, and run simply conda install Spyder kernels equal 1.10, and that's it. But for now, unfortunately, yeah, that's kind of the main limitation. But we are, I mean, we don't know what to do about that because it depends on Anaconda.
We will be working on it for future release. So
Exactly.
yeah, well, basically, once you have Spyder kernels in your environment, you will be able to create a new console with that. And this is also important because we had received a lot of issues where people trying to add more dependencies to, like, for the code they need to run, they were damaging the base environment where Spyder is running. So right now you can have them separated and like have more control on what is in your workflow and what Spyder needs for running. So that's pretty cool as well. So yeah, that's what I had.
Thanks a lot, Stephanie. Thanks for your contribution in this release. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great to auto-detect environments. We will improve the UI thanks to Isabella for next features about how to show those environments instead of showing the full path to the Python executable of the environment, showing something more nicer, a nicer message or a nicer way to display those environments. But for now, what we wanted to give people that download and use installers, it's an easy way to also use, as I said, their Conda environments as an execution environment, so they don't have to try to mess with the application and instead go to Conda and use the environments that they already have for that. Okay, so now going with the next feature, some of the cool new features added to 4.2, we have Edgar to tell us about auto formatting of Python files, which is a feature that had been requested for a long, long time too, with Black and Autopep8. So Edgar, please go ahead.
So let me share my screen. Hi, everyone. So basically, what you got here is like, we added a new option to add auto formatting to Spyder. So we have a new option here under completion and linting that says code formatting. And here you can select basically the provider that you want, which in this case is Autopep or Black. We also added an option to auto format files on save. So let's see how this works. Let's say I pick Autopep8 and I have an horrendous code here. Let me add some. Well, this kind of things, right? So I get all these messages that says, "Oh, your code is pretty bad." So we added a new set of options to format files. So basically, we have the option to format file or a selection, and we added a shortcut for it. We also added this option under source, so you can see here which provider you pick to format the files and which also the shortcut. So if I press Ctrl-Alt-I, then you see that Autopep8 is applied successfully to this file. Cool. So let's say I only want to format a selection. So I can select a region of code and also apply once again the auto formatter, and it should be applied only on these regions because we have still formatting issues there. So this is pretty cool. We can switch providers. So under here, let's pick Black. Okay, and then yeah, right now you see that this pass was formatted because the provider was changed. Yeah, and we can also format files on safe, which is this option here. So if I save, then it gets auto format. The cool thing is that since this implemented in the Python language, in the language server protocol, we can also format for other languages. So basically, I have here a file on Elixir, and this was formatted by the Elixir formatter, which is a separate language, which is cool.
That's pretty cool, Edgar. Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah. So that's one of the new features. The other one I want to talk about today, it was code snippets. So basically, we have these many options which is snippets. So basically, this allows us, well, any user to add their own customized snippets to add in Spyder. So let's say I want to create a new one, and this is going to be like property. And this is a class property. I'll just say class, and then I want to do here, and then I want to do dev, and then I insert my. So this syntax is pretty common for, well, VS Code and other editors, which you can find in the link that is in the configuration page. let's say I want to have a body here, and then just finish. These snippets are being validated in real time. So if you have a grammatical error against our, I forgot these ones. Like that one. It says valid snippet and I cannot apply it to it. So yeah, if I apply that, and then I go here, let's say, and I do property. Now my snippet is being shown up. And there you go. Once again, you can configure this for other languages as well. So once this loads up, and let's say I want to pick up here, and well, I have this one that says macro. So I should be able to go here. And if I insert macro, there you go. You have your own snippets in all languages also again. So those are the new cool features in Spyder 4.2. So they're ready to use and included there.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Edgar. One thing that I would like to mention about this is that in 4.2.1, we are going to join the sections that said code style and code auto formatting, because options in code style apply to code auto formatting. So that's a work that Stephanie is going to do for 4.2.1, and Isabella, of course, help us to clarify that, because we were kind of messed up with that feature, trying to join or trying to tell users, finding a way to tell users that these options of code style apply to code auto formatting. But that's something that is going to come for 4.2.1. So please don't worry if you don't find that tab that Edgar showed you about code auto formatting, because it's going to be all in one tab that is going to call code style and formatting. Okay, thanks a lot, Edgar. And now we're going to go with Quentin. So if you remember, our last episode for the Spydercast, was about the debugger, and Quentin helped us a lot to improve the debugger in 4.2. So now, Quentin, if you remember, also some of the features that we were talking about that time were not already decided, but they were for 4.2, and Quentin is going to show us about them. So go ahead, Quentin.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, so just before beginning, I just want to say that it can bring me back, because the very first PR I did for Spyder was actually like a very small typo that would prevent Spyder from opening something from the Finder. But of course, back in the day, there was no like proper app to do that. So I just hacked together like a small like empty app that would just open Spyder. And so I somehow managed to make it work so that I could open files from the Finder. And so that was my very first app. But of course, that was not a very sustainable solution. And so it was always on the back of my mind to try to get something working for like a proper Spyder app, so everyone could actually have access to these nice features. So I'm very happy that Ryan found the time to do that, and I'm sure that's going to be like a great improvement for anyone that's using Spyder on a Mac. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Ryan. Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, but last time I was discussing about the problem when you're debugging of having a variable that has the same name as a function. So let's say I want to debug a random function. So here I'm entering the debugger. So the first thing you can notice is that instead of just having a random prompt, I actually have a prompt with a small number. So if I'm just executing some code, I can actually know how far down I am in the code, which is very similar to the regular IPython prompts that also are counting up. So now the problem I talked about last week was, okay, let's say I have a variable that's named step. So you see that here I get a little warning, and that's because if I then try to use the step command, I just get the step variable. So that's the first difference as what you had before, because before this would actually step through the code instead of displaying the value step. But if I have a variable that's called step, the most logical thing that I want to do is actually to use that variable. So it's the same thing with IPython magic. So IPython magic, you don't need to add the % in front of the IPython magic. But if you don't do it and you have a variable that has the same name, this variable will just hide the magic. So here, if I actually want to step through the code, I would just need to add a little prefix, which is exclamation point. So if I do step, I can actually step through the code. So here, because I don't have a function that's called step, if I just try step, I can step again. And as soon as I have a variable named step, step doesn't work. And I just need to use the prefix. The other thing is, okay, let's say I'm going through the code, then I want to edit something else. And I want to go back to the line I'm debugging. So in PDB, you have the where command. So where command tells you where you are. But here, we've updated this where command so that on top of showing you where you are in the console, it goes in the editor to the line you're actually debugging. So these are like the few updates that I can give from last week. And the biggest one is the way these comments were working, because last time what I said is that you would need to add this prefix for every comment, but actually it makes more sense to only need the prefix if you already have a variable that has the same name.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Quentin. So yeah, that was the main thing that we changed for 4.2 from the things that you saw in the previous Spydercast, because that was not decided. So Quentin and I were exploring several alternatives, but at the end, Quentin decided to go with this alternative. We think makes a lot of sense because it works, as Quentin said, in the same way as the IPython magics. So if there is no function or no variable that collides with the magic, then IPython will run the magic. But if not, you need to prefix it with a percentage sign. And in this case, it's sort of the same idea. Go ahead, Quentin.
Yeah. So Ryan, you have a question.
Yeah. Were you going to mention something about Matplotlib support in the debugger?
That was mentioned last time, but if you want to show it again, right?
In the last podcast, in the last Spydercast,
yeah.
It was there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
I was just gonna say that for scientific developers, that is huge.
Yeah.
I can show it again quickly.
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
Because anything that's
time.
data driven, you almost inevitably have to plot it to see what's going on if you're going to debug some data driven code. So it's huge, especially for us physicists. It was just it was like
I completely agree. As a physicist myself, that's also like the one thing I wanted to make work in Spyder, which was really not easy. So yeah, basically the problem is that you need to actually run the event loop while you're doing development. So what you can do is you can enable the Matplotlib. So if you want some interactive figures while you're debugging, and if you do that, and I try to just plot random figures. Maybe I should. Can you see the figure that just popped up? Maybe not. Wait, I'll just share the actual desktop. Yeah, so here you can see that even though I'm in PDB, I actually have reactive figures. And same thing, if you go to the preferences, and you go to IPython console and debugger, you have all these preferences, and the one I'm looking at is process execute events while debugging. So execute events is like a lot of things that IPython is doing, and one of them is to and one of these things is to show figures. So if I just write plot, it's plotting automatically, which it was not before. So here I can just plot new things, and the plot, when the line returns, will automatically update. So it's great, but if you're debugging plot making code, it's not ideal. So you can turn it off, because let's say I'm creating like a complex plot with several subplots. I don't necessarily want like every line to be plotting. So I just go to the preferences and disable this preference, and then I can just do plot, and then show, and I get the 3 on the same line. So that's really, while debugging, you have these two options, and if you use like this interactive, and you can also use interactive things while debugging. But the one caveat is that the interactive plot only works if you're. So I'll show you. So here it's interactive, but if I'm doing a long computation, like time, like I'm sleeping for 20 seconds, here the figure just won't react. But that's the same limitation you have in IPython. And so if you want to know the technical reason, it's because basically everything is happening in the main thread. And Matplotlib really doesn't like to be run in anything that's not the main thread. So that's really the limit here, that as everything has to happen in the main thread, the only moment where I can actually run this interactive windows is while I'm waiting for an input here. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Quentin, for all your work in the debugger. I mean, I have to say also, as Ryan said, I'm also a physicist, that this is great. Something that Quentin worked really, really hard for the past several months to implement. And it's a really nice feature, and something that it's not, I mean, I think, as far as I know, it's not present in any other Python IDE, at least an open source Python IDE at the moment. So I think there's an interesting chat, an interesting question on the chat, Juanita is telling me, but and this is specifically for Quentin and Ryan, who are our volunteer contributors. And the question is the following: what is your motivation for working in Spyder? Is it a hobby? Are you developing for your own use, or for philanthropic purposes to improve mankind? I assume you are not getting paid for this. So what are your thoughts about that? Let's start with Quentin.
Yeah, so basically I am a Spyder user. So what I really like about Python is that when you're using something and something doesn't go the way you want it to go, you can just have a look and try to fix it. And so it's relatively easy to spend a bit of time and fix it. And you say, okay, the next time I have this problem, well, I just won't have it. And then because you already did this work, you just have the opportunity to share it with everyone else. And that's quite nice to know that like the work you're making to have your program work better, you can actually share it with everyone. And that's what I really like with open source software. That's I, as a user, can just improve the software in a small way, and everyone that uses this software will actually get the same benefits.
Thanks, Quentin. What did you say, Ryan, about these questions?
I echo the same thing Quentin said. I'm a Spyder user, and we use it for data analysis. And it's like when there's something or some feature that I wish I could do to make it easier for me, I just want to figure out a way to do it. It's kind of a hobby as well, because I was just as I mentioned before, I was interested in making some Mac application just to learn how to do it, and this was an opportunity to do it, and I was just very happy and honored to be able to participate in the Spyder development and make that contribution, and hopefully be able to make further contributions in the future. And if it helps people at my work as well, then that improves my value to the company too. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan, for your input. I would also like to say that, well, right now, the rest of the team, the rest of the Colombian team that is participating in this Spydercast is supported by Quansight. So Quansight is a company created by Travis Oliphant, the creator also of NumPy and SciPy. And it's a very cool place to work. And also, thanks to Quansight, is that now we are working with Isabella. So Isabella is helping us, as we told you, to improve our UX, UI interface, or problems that we have in our interface. So Isabella, if you would like to tell us a little bit about how you joined Quansight and why you think it's a nice place to work. So go ahead.
I'm sure. Okay, getting to Quansight was definitely not my expectation either. When I was at Cal Poly for my undergrad studying design, I worked with a team of students who spend a lot of time on the Jupyter project, actually, and that got me really into open source. It was something I cared about, but I wasn't really sure how to breach as a designer since it is so code focused. But luckily with that group of students, because I had we sat in a room, which is very unusual with open source, right, versus doing it from afar. So I had developers right next to me that I could ask a lot of questions to, and they were happy to do that. And then they also asked me a lot of questions. And so that really helped me get into the space. And after working with Jupyter for a little over a year, I was looking into, can I be doing this more? I really like doing this work. I really like working in public. And I ended up, through a few people that I had met working with Jupyter, getting connected with Quansight. And so it's kind of been a dream come true for me. I didn't think I would be doing anything like this. I've had other design jobs where there's different focuses. A lot of things are really private, right? And I don't know, I think some people like working that way, but I'm super grateful, right, that Quansight allows me to do that. And they allow me to be on a lot of different projects, which I love, working with all kinds of passionate people with so many different backgrounds, and that's super exciting to me. So yeah, that's my Quansight excitement, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks, Isabella. And now to finish this Spydercast, we're going to show you precisely what Isabella has helped us to do in 4.2. But before showing exactly that, Juanita is going to step in again to show us the improvements to our tour. So probably if you already are using Spyder with our stylus, you have seen that we are showing a small message at the beginning, exactly that one, to tell us to take a tour of our main features. So Juanita, please explain us about that.
Okay, so this tour has been in Spyder for a long time, but it's not very discoverable because it's a little bit hidden in the menus. And we really thought that it was a really interesting thing for new users to have when you start Spyder, and maybe it's a little bit confusing or there's too many things to see there. So this tour basically shows the main pains of Spyder, and it's really interesting to go towards it and see all the main panes and its functionality. So for 4.2, we basically did two things. One was completing the tour. It only had like 4 or 5 panes. And what we did was basically adding all the main panes that you're going to be using. Oh, sorry, I closed the tour. Great. And basically, I think that one of the main things that we did was adding this cool dialogue that I'm going to open in a few again after I show you basically all the new panes that we added. So we didn't have the plots pane. We didn't have the history pane. I can't move my window. Sorry. I'm going to move you guys over here. So we included the find pane. Then, sorry, this is because I'm sharing my screen. The profiler and the code analysis. And basically what we did was to, are you still seeing my screen? I guess, yes. So I'm going to restart Spyder so I can show you the dialogue. But what I did was to include all the missing panes in the tour. And also we did this cool dialogue at the beginning for people that are starting with Spyder to see it and have quick access to the tour. And this was all thanks to Isabella. She was the one who helped us design this dialogue, the colors, the icon, everything. And I think this is great because this is the first thing that people see when they come to Spyder, and it's really, I don't know, appealing to people. So I want Isabella to tell us how is the work of doing this cool dialogue, and maybe if you want to share your screen and show us your drawings and everything you did for these, that would be great too, so that people can have a really small taste of what you actually do for us.
What do I do, huh? But yeah, of course. It's always funny to see what things we point out to, because right, this is such a little thing in the scheme of Spyder, and it's probably a little thing in the sense of user experience, and it's right, definitely a little thing like physically on the screen, right? It's a little box, but it actually indicates a lot of the work that we've been doing on a bigger scale too, right? Like for example, Juanita mentioned color, and we've been working on trying to fix up some of like the colors overall in Spyder, and this is kind of the first taste you start to see of that. Another thing I would say is that even though this is very visual, like this is fun to show off because it's pretty, so to speak, I also really like it because one of the things that we've been working on a lot is like consistency, because one of the things that's super common in open source and Spyder has is because we have people contributing with all these different pieces, sometimes like the way they work doesn't quite line up, right? Because they're all these different people working with different things. A lot of the times people are getting used to the project, like the code while they're working on it. And so that's been another thing that we've been doing is like, okay, what are dialogues for, right? Like what does and doesn't fit in a dialogue. And so like we talked about that a lot with the tour actually, even though we ended up still in a dialogue. I think it's cool to note that even these pretty things have a lot of like either not visible or not so pretty things going on that I really like to think about because I don't know, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I like that stuff, right? But back to the pretty part. One of the huge parts of this, right, is now there's an icon on the side, as Juanita was showing. And that's another thing we're kind of working on is like, what are ways that we can make this a little friendlier, particularly for, right, tours are for ideally new users or just in general if you're being greeted with a fresh install. Like, how can we make this feel like that, not that auto like click out of the dialogue as soon as it pops up, right, immediately close like we saw in some of our demos today. And so, yeah, I don't have my actual sketches scanned, but I can definitely show you some of the process for that. We went through a few different ideas. I'm trying to share. Does that look like a, okay, cool. So this is me working in the Figma web app. That's right, I'm using Figma right now. And we went through a few different ideas on like what a tour right idea could look like too. So you're gonna see my really messy stuff that I start with here. I always mark issues and what version it is based on the feedback I've gotten and my iteration on it. So we were trying to play with a map. There's always this degree of when you're making any kind of icon, this like, what is kind of the funny way to say it is like, what makes a map look like a map, right? Like, what's the mappiest? Is it like the compass in it? Is it these wavy lines? Look at all this stuff. Wow, here we go. Is it this? Is it confusing to have this when it searches, right? And so this is kind of that stuff. And a lot of the times when I mock it up, you try and see like, oh, that looks actually terrible. That's usually what happens is I'm like, this is a great idea. And then I play with it more. We had some binocular ideas. Working with the sparkles, that's one of the things that really surprised me, ended up being popular with the team for our icon sets, is these little sparkly guys. And fitting with it. But so yeah, for example, like you can see we were playing with what kind of color palette stuff is working here, since that's a part of a larger thing. Right, once again, what makes a map look like a map? You kind of see that transition. Do we even want a map? Then you get to that point and it's like, maybe we're just saying hello. This is welcome to the tour. Yeah, so this is how I work too. I know a lot of designers that don't make constant copies like this, but I really like to see things side by side and compare them. And then, right, so that's a lot of different ideas on direction, but then we get as granular as this where people are like, what's like spot the difference games, basically, where it's like, what's the difference between these things? I swear there was one. Could I tell you today? Maybe, some of them I can, but it also gets to the point where I can't. So yeah, that's some of how this works. And then, so this was starting, right, these mockups were just starting with the screenshot of like, okay, what's the current dialogue spacing? But then it's starting, once we get kind of that icon nailed down, also rewriting the text was something that I did probably on the side here. Oh, yep, there it is. All my rough drafts for text, which is always funny. Sometimes we try and do that on call and then we can have the whole team laugh at me trying to write on command. And it's really silly because I'm like, what about this word? But yeah, then we start working on spacing a little bit. And in this case, that screenshot is what I ended up sending over to when he just started this process. I know it was picked up by a few different people since we were starting with Mac because that's what Juanita and I are using, but then mixing it up with getting it to work on Windows and Linux was a bit of an adventure. But yeah, so we ended up with a mock-up handoff for this one, but that's not always the case. It kind of depends on what kind of project it is, since this one was super visual, giving that and giving the specs of like, okay, what are the colors, right? These buttons also look slightly different, which was another tweak in this. So yeah, there's a lot of little UI changes here that have been part of either like a larger discussion that I know that we're aiming for, and the UX, like, can we start to make this more, right, consistent? Can we start using the same colors in dialogues and icons and, right, making the buttons look kind of the same? Can we start using language that's, you know, fitting with each other? Can we start using language maybe that's focusing a little less on the technical when it's appropriate, right? There are times when you really need those technical errors, and there are times where it's confusing to open Spyder and get like, you know, maybe like a list of panes. Maybe it's more helpful to say like, hey, do you just want to look around? So that's kind of my job overall, I'd say here, is to say, ask them a lot of questions and try and figure out like, what cases are these? Well, maybe we can try this different thing, since I'm coming from this from a very different perspective from anyone working on the project. I am not a physicist or a developer or anything like that. So it's really awesome, but glad to be here and glad to show you some of that pretty icon development. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to say that, well, this is a really small taste of what she has been doing with us for the past months. And spoiler alert, we're going to have a lot of really cool stuff going on for Spyder 5, thanks to Isabella, because we've been doing a really hard work on thinking about the design, the icons, the colors. And I think this is the first time that we're doing this. And it's really great to have someone with a really different point of view, perspective, and so like a lot of experience doing this. So thank you, Isabella, for joining us on the team. We're gonna have a lot of these things going on for Spyder 5, and I am really excited about this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isabella and Juanita, for improving the tour, because as Juanita said, it was already part of Spyder, but it was kind of messy, and also to Isabella for making this great dialogue to show people how to start taking the tour specifically. So with that, I'm going to end our Spydercast today. I think it was kind of rough because, well, there were a lot of people participating and we had to share screens among all of us. Hopefully people will enjoy it, people that are watching us right now on YouTube. If not, it's going to be part of our channel too. You want to see it at a later time. And thanks a lot for joining us. And hopefully you will also enjoy and like all the new cool features in Spyder 4.2. Thanks a lot and bye-bye. See you next time.
Okay, I ended the transmission. Yes, we ended the transmission. We're good.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for participating and for joining us. It was great to have Quentin again, Ryan for the first time. Thanks a lot.